Tammy, go ahead and tell me what quality work is.
Quality work is about staying in the lines. And you draw the outlines of things and then you color it in.
And when you color it in, do you get outside of the lines at all?
No.
No. What's quality work when you're writing?
When you're writing, you have to do the letters, like a N, a big N, like, do all the lines straight. And if you do them sideways when they're not supposed to be sideways, like this, and then you won't get a great look of the letter.
Oh, okay. Is it easy for people to read when you don't write neatly?
No.
No. Is it much easier to read when you do write neatly?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to say anything else about quality work? Okay.
Hi guys, welcome to my instructional video. I was given a teacher challenge to put together a video about how to make a quality project. So I wanted to show you guys the methods I use and the things that I do to do a good job on my work. The first thing I do, like with the science projects, is you want to do your research. For the 5th graders, like, you have access to the ebook, so you can do your initial research on there. And then to find additional information, you can go to the library, both the public library and the library at our school. You'll find resources there, and then you can do online research. I recommend using books first over the internet. Books are generally going to be a more reliable resource, particularly informational books and books on specific subjects. So you'll want to kind of start with that. As you are researching, make sure that you're taking notes. In your textbook, you'll see like bold headings and stuff. The bold headings kind of give you a big idea of what that section is going to be about, so you can use that as kind of a reference guide for your note taking. And so that's what I do a lot when I have projects and things that I need to work on. I'll start there and kind of look at the bold headings and then look for the sentences that stand out more in the paragraphs that follow it, and then make notes about those paragraphs, or make notes about what's happening in those paragraphs. After you do your research, then you need to kind of figure out what form you want to put it together in. For the science projects, a lot of students will do PowerPoints. Students have done videos, which is really neat because then you can kind of bring in other elements. With the videos, you can show experiments. If you're doing a physical science project or something, you can show different experiments, like how gases work and how magnets work and what happens when you combine different chemicals and all that stuff. You can also do a video as though you were presenting like at a science fair. So you put together something at home and then present that in video form, and then we can show the video in class as your project. So there are a bunch of different things that you can do. Some students have done dioramas. Some students have done just experiments right in general, where they bring in things related to their lesson and they perform experiments in front of the class and then talk about what they did and what they learned when they did that. So that's some other stuff that you can do when you're working on the different experiments and when you're researching different things and trying to figure out what to do. My video is going to kind of show the things that I've done with mine. I did my note taking. I did a slideshow because it was the quickest and easiest thing for me to do for what I needed, and it allowed me to get all my information easily in one spot and then present it. So you'll see the slideshow that I put together and possibly watch me present that in video form. Okay.
I am going to put together a project on the different types of ecosystems. So the first thing I do is I get into our ebook That's going to be the easiest resource for most of the fifth graders to get into. You can get into the ebook online in class, or you can do it at home if you have internet access. So I'm going to the ecosystems chapter, and it's section 1 or lesson 1 in that chapter, where it talks about the different types of ecosystems. So that's where I'm going to do my research. So I start by looking at the different information that I have in front of me. And if you notice those different subheadings, the subheadings will give you a lot of information about what to write down. So I've got types of ecosystems, and then we've got coral reef, desert, tropical rainforest, tundra, and then we've got taiga, prairie, mixed forest, coastal wetlands. So I'm going to go back in here and take notes about each of these sections as I read through them. And then I'm going to start with that information to put together my presentation.
Okay, so I have finished putting together the slideshow. It's been put together with all of the transitions that I like to see when slideshows are presented. I also set it up, since I was using PowerPoint, I was able to do a voiceover as I was playing through the slideshow, and then I could export that as a video file. So you'll be able to see the presentation as I would be presenting it, aside from me being in front of the slideshow, where you would see my eye contact, but you'll hear kind of how I would talk about it. The other thing I want you to notice is with the slides, I don't have paragraphs on every slide. Nobody wants to read a bunch of paragraphs when they're watching a slideshow. I just have bullet points. So I have key ideas, and then in some cases I expanded on those ideas just from what I knew and the knowledge that I had about the content. So it's really important when you're putting together a slideshow that you're not writing out a bunch of paragraphs. So you really need to do just bullet points and the general ideas, and then you expand on those ideas when you actually do the presentation. So that's an important part of putting together all of that stuff. I did my presentation on ecosystems. During this presentation, I will be covering a definition of an ecosystem, biotic and abiotic factors, population and community, and types of organisms or types of ecosystems. An ecosystem is all the living and non-living things in an area and their interactions. First, I'm going to talk about biotic and abiotic factors. Biotic factors are all the living organisms in an ecosystem. Abiotic factors are the non-living parts of an ecosystem. Population and community. A population is a group of organisms of one species that live in an area at the same time. A community is different populations in an area. For example, sea lions and killer whales would also live in Antarctica, so the combination of all of those animals together makes up a community. There are several different types of ecosystems. One is coral reefs. Coral reef have animals that have traits that allow them to live in warm, clear, shallow water. Some of the reef animals that we tend to think about and consider are clownfish, other tropical fish, and anemones and sponges. Another type of ecosystem is tropical rainforest. Generally, the weather there is warm and rainy. Plants and animals in the rainforest have adaptations that help them survive in this climate. Their high moisture levels, and the high moisture levels allow the plants like orchids to grow on trees instead of soil.
Rainforest animals include butterflies, tree frogs, monkeys, and parrots. Another ecosystem is desert. In the desert, there's not much rain. The days are really hot, the nights are cool, and there are lots of sand dunes and rock. Organisms in the desert have traits that help them survive. For example, cactuses can store water in their stems. Many animals rest during the day. Desert animals that exist are things like coyotes, desert tortoises, lizards, and rattlesnakes. Another ecosystem is the tundra. The weather here is cold. There's little rain. Only small bushes grow here, and the tundra also has a permafrost layer of soil that's like a frozen layer of soil. Organisms in the tundra have traits that help them survive, like thick fur coats. Their fur can change color with the seasons, and they have large feet. The tundra is located in the northernmost areas of Earth or high in the mountains. Tundra animals include weasels, rodents, polar bears, foxes, snowshoe hares, ringed seals, moose, and caribou. Taiga is another ecosystem. The taiga has harsh, long, cold winters, and most of the land has soil that is low in nutrients. Couldn't really grow crops there. Taiga is also referred to as the boreal forest. Organisms in the taiga have traits that help them survive. They have thick coats and migratory behaviors. The taiga is located between latitude 60 degrees north and 50 degrees north. It is warmer than the tundra, and it has a lot of pine trees, spruce trees, and fir trees. Taiga animals include moose, elk, squirrels, hawks, and migratory birds. There's also the mixed forest. Mixed forest is like what we have here in Michigan. Mixed forests have all 4 seasons, a variety of trees and plants, and good soil. Mixed forests are, again, like the forest that we have in Michigan. They have a lot of oak, maple, and beech trees. And the animals in mixed forests include songbirds, deer, bears, and raccoons. Many animals in this area hibernate in the winter or migrate to warmer areas. Prairie is another ecosystem. Prairies do have all 4 seasons. There are very little trees. The soil is nutrient rich, and rainfall varies from year to year. The prairie is located throughout the Midwest and Great Plains. Animals that live here include bison, coyotes, prairie dogs, and grasshoppers. Coastal wetland is another ecosystem that's like in Florida. Warm climate where water partly covers land during at least part of the year and the water is salty. Located on coasts all over the world, that's where you're going to find most of the coastal wetlands. Animals that live here include birds, snakes, manatee, and insects. And there are lots of mangrove trees here. Balance in the ecosystem is really important. It's what helps to keep everything running smoothly. Every organism in an ecosystem has a niche or a role that it has in the ecosystem. Habitat is the place where the organisms live. Habitat is made up of the soil, air, and water, as well as plants in the area. So for example, you're not going to have a plant that you would see in the coastal wetlands growing in northern Michigan. All of the relationships among parts of an ecosystem keep it balanced. You can kind of see how everything works together here. Limiting factors. Carrying capacity, that has a big effect on ecosystems. Carrying capacity includes the number of organisms that can live in a habitat. Factors that limit this are the amount of food, water, space, and shelter that are available. And as you can tell from this picture, we have to be conscious of how we use our resources and how we take care of them and what we do in terms of development, because we could end up with a less than pleasant environment and ecosystem. Are my citations.
Okay, so that is my video on how to put together a quality presentation or a quality project. You start out with the research, and then you go from there. You do your research, you take your notes. After you get all your notes down, that is generally going to be it. Every once in a while you will need to do a little bit of additional research to add to your project, because things will come up that you need to find out more about. And it's okay to do that, because you want to include as much information as you can. But the bottom line is, in order to put together a quality project, you really need to take the time to plan for it. You need to put it all together in a way that is going to be pleasing to the eye, that's neat, that that people can tell that you took your time on it and that you put in good effort. So that's a quality project.